Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to True Serum Tuesday. I have refreshed my iPad and updated it, so I'm really hoping I can interact with you. Last week, unfortunately, for some reason, I wasn't able to be interacting. So I tried to do some techie things, which I'm not techie, so hopefully they'll begin to work. Hey, Veronica. And so I'm hoping that stuff will work out and we'll be able to communicate better. Hey, since you're on here, push the thumbs up and the hearts. I want to see if I can see them. I'm hoping that I've kind of taken care of that. If you're pushing them and I don't say anything, text me so I know that that's not something, because maybe I'll switch over to my phone. Excuse me. I'm still having some really tough breathing stuff from being sick. So I don't know, Veronica, if you're pushing them, I don't see them. But what I wanted to talk about this evening is some really cool things that are going to be coming up. And so I'm going to mention those at the end so that you guys can know that some of the events that I'm having and some of the things that I'm really excited about, because I've been working on a couple of them for a while now, and people have been asking for them, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do them, but because of that, excuse me, I'm going to roll some things out early, I guess I could say. So last week we talked, tonight we're going to be along the same kind of vein as we were last week. And hey, Margaret, nice to see ya. Margaret, I may need to talk to you because I'm still not able to see any comments. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to log on to my phone. I'm going to watch on here live and see if you guys are saying anything. Oh, Veronica says hi. So I'm going to look at some of these things on my phone so I can interact with you. Hey, Leslie, I don't think I've ever seen you on here before. Nice to have you. Give Leslie a nice warm hearts and thumbs up for first time being here live. Hi, Susan. I hope you're feeling better. Margaret, we're going to need to talk about what's going on so I can't see comments. So make sure you guys interact with me. I'm going to be kind of looking down at my phone, looking down at my notes, because I want to make sure that I can interact. This is one of the reasons why I love Facebook Live so much, and I love these True Serum Tuesdays, is because I can see you guys on here. I can really see what you guys are getting, what you're not getting, and really see if there's an impact. Because one thing that is important to me is making an impact in the lives of even just one person that's on here. So I'm so glad that you guys are all here. Make sure that you comment, and I'll try and kind of go with you here at the same time, and hopefully it'll work. So tonight I posted is about environmental addictions, and I'm not talking about substance abuse necessarily. I'm not talking about substance abuse. I'm not talking about drugs or alcohol or anything like that. But what I'm talking about is our environmental addictions that then tell us what kind of emotional addictions we have, and then we discover how to get out of that same pattern of thinking over and over and over again. So really, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this. If you have, put the thumbs up and the hearts in there. I want to see them. But when let's say, for example, there have been times when I've tried, and maybe I've upset somebody, and then I've tried to make them feel better and make them feel better and make them feel better. And honestly, that's not up to me whether they feel better or not. But I'm thinking that I can fix it. And so I go and I try and fix things over and over and over again. And by having this kind of addictive behavior to my environment, this kind of addictive interaction where I keep going back for more and more and more, which only then creates an emotional addiction in me saying, I have to fix it. I feel bad. I feel guilty. I mean, how many of you have ever felt that? So push the thumbs up and hearts or comment in the comment section, yes. Because when we have these things that we keep back going and doing that end up making us not feel good either about ourselves or about what's happening, we end up having this kind of negative response. sometimes we're like, I don't even know why I do the things I do. So how many of you have ever asked yourself, why do I keep doing this over and over and over again? So comment in the video, in the comment section, if you have felt that way. If you've ever said yourself, I don't know why I just don't stop. So I'm not seeing the comments, but I just want you to comment in there. Make sure, I'm going to turn this off so that maybe the internet connection will be not weighed down so much. So when you discover what you're doing and it doesn't serve you, then what do? So oftentimes, like say I've wanted to fix things for other people, I've kept on trying and trying and trying, because as long as I'm trying, I'm doing something and I don't have to realize what really is happening within me. So if we sit still long enough without doing things, we begin to feel something. So how many of you have stopped doing something, you started feeling something, hey Gail, nice to have you, and then you started doing it again because you don't like the feeling that you feel? How many of you done that? Give me thumbs up, give me hearts. Say yes in the comment section. Because that's the addictive part. I don't know why I can't stop. I don't know why I have to feel like I have to fix these things. Why do I keep going back and then I get the same response over and over and over again? That doesn't make me feel good. And this really, I don't want to overemphasize, this really isn't about feeling good, so to speak, but it's not serving you. It's not allowing you to live the life you want to be living. It doesn't matter what that is. What if I keep going back to the same way I communicate with my boss and they keep telling me the same thing? Oh, it's you, it's you, it's you. And I know it's not, but I keep trying to please that person so much more and more and more. And I just end up getting rejected again and again and again. And I just keep trying and trying, but it no longer serves me. And then either we get angry or we feel more guilt. And then when we stop trying, maybe the guilt and the anger and all that stuff comes back and really becomes more real and intense for us, because we're not occupying our brain on trying, or our bodies, and trying to fixing it. Are you guys following along? Let me know if you're following along. Those people that have my phone number, text me and let me know you're following along, because I'm not getting any comments on here and I just want to make sure this is clear. So tonight we're talking about how our environmental addictions equal or show us what our emotional addictions are. And then what do we want to do about that? So when we stop acting, when we stop doing, we sit, we have feelings, we have thoughts, and that really, that something is who you really are, or things about yourself that may not be that pleasant to realize. And so then we pick up and do instead of just sit. Okay, so Gail says you're clear, people are commenting, great. If someone wants to feed me some of those comments through the text, that would be awesome. If not, and you just want to listen, that's cool too. So when we sit long enough, when we stop doing and we sit in this discomfort, the number one benefit of that is not, oh, I just feel worse about myself. That's not the point of this. The point isn't not to create more guilt, more suffering for you, demean you, tell you one more thing that you're not doing right. That's not the goal. The goal of sitting is to find out what the reality is. And some of that stuff, and mind you, isn't easy to realize. But the beauty of it is that once you realize those things, you have a starting point. You don't have to go down this rabbit hole of, oh, well, I'm not successful again. And if you start that, I would ask you, what is your emotional addiction to self-demeaning behavior? What is your emotional addiction to suffering? What is your emotional addiction to one more time saying that you're not good enough to fix something? Or what's your emotional addiction to trying to please other people and not realizing how you really feel and then feeling how you want to? It gives you a starting point, right? So the something is who you really are. It's not meant as a negative. But what it does is identify an emotional state that you're addicted to. So what I want to know is, what are some of the emotional states that you are addicted to, just from the little bit that we've talked about? And if you see someone else's comment and you're like, me too, thumbs up and hearts that person. Part of this True Serum Tuesday is to know that we're not out here all alone. The likelihood that you're the only one that has ever thought those things is slim to none. That's the plain fact of it. There's thousands of women in this world, like as we've known and we've seen lately, that have a realization that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm not the only one that always feels guilty. When maybe I'm a mom and I have to take my kids to daycare and I go to work and I get stressed and then I get off work and I feel like I don't have time left for my kids because I'm totally drained from work and I've expended all this energy, but really want is to be with my children, to nurture them, to play with them, to have a moment that's not filled with homework and bath time and go, but to sit with them and enjoy and let them know how much you love them. How many of you moms want to be doing that consistently? I'm sure a lot of you are doing those things. But if I don't get to, maybe I feel guilty, or maybe I say I'm not really a good mom, or I don't deserve this, or I'm not really doing whatever. If you're like me, I'm a mom, but my daughter is 24 years old and there's no one here. You know, it's me and my partner, and this is when I want to be able to come home from work and be with my partner, to make dinner, to have those times that really cause a connection, because we are human and we need those things, right? So if you're on here, make sure to say hi. I'd like to say hi to you. I'm not able to see some of the comments on here, so just keep commenting for each other and supporting each other. So once you have this beautiful experience, although it may not feel that beautiful, but when you have a revelation of this is really the emotion I'm addicted to, then you can say, where in my past did I learn about this emotion? Now, I'm not telling you have to go and examine everything and you have to go down this long road and explain everything that's ever happened to you. You don't need to do that. What you can say is, I've learned this addiction to suffering because throughout my life, I've had times in which I wasn't able to express what I needed. I wasn't able to have da-da-da-da-da. I wasn't able to do da-da-da-da-da. Or every time I did this, this happened. You can just know. Those feelings are now coming into the present because you know how to operate. So, let me know you guys are getting what I'm talking about. And so we go from an environmental addiction, we sit for a minute, we realize our emotional addiction. We say, in reality, where does this come from? Now, you may not want to change it. So when you say, why can't I would ask you, what are you resisting to change? What about this emotion makes you or satisfies some part of you? It's not a good or a bad thing. You know, it's a light and a dark thing. Sometimes we do these things because it's more comfortable to suffer than it is to realize that we are worthy, just as worthy as anyone else. It is more important to serve other people and not take care of yourself because, oh, everyone always goes first. You know, so you're used to kind of, honestly, maybe being a martyr. Like, oh, I'm doing this, but I don't really want to. But okay, you're making me. No one's making you. You choose. And then those choices, when you feel like you can't say no, what is your emotional addiction? Okay, so let me look at my notes here so I can stay on track. So the other way to look at it too, what emotional state causes your environmental interactions? So people say, oh, well, if I only worked at someplace different, if I only was doing this other thing, if I only could not have this person in my life, if I could move to a different house and this wouldn't be happening. Sometimes that can be absolutely true. I'm not saying that those things aren't true at times. But the thing that will make you more successful than not is to realize and to look within. Like, what am I interacting with in my environment that causes me to self-sabotage and then become this person I don't want to become, or do the things I don't want to do? And what happens is when we do those things enough, we say, well, this is just how I am. I hear that so much. And what I say to that is, this is how you are until you're not that way anymore. Well, I can't. Well, I don't know. Well, why not? It's not always that easy. You know, when I say these things, it's not like I haven't gone through my own stuff. So I don't know who's posting the pictures, but I can't read it on the iPad. So I don't know, maybe I'll look at my phone. But what we do often is cause some of our own environmental interactions. So I had a person say to me, I don't know why this is always happening, but whenever things are going well in my family, I feel like I get angry and I start being rude and mean to people around me. She's like, but there's no reason for me to do that. My family is having a good time. So what we had to do is look at her emotional state and what makes her uncomfortable to not live in chaos with her family. Well, historically, it's always been chaos. It's always been passive aggressive. It's always been, well, one thing, turn around, I'll stab you in the back, and unhealthiness. So this is how she's lived her life. And now when things are seemingly okay, which in her history, she knows that they aren't, she becomes starting to defend herself. But she doesn't want to be like that anymore. So what we do is we look at that emotional state, why that is happening with her, and then how she wants to react. So I'm going to look down at my phone really quick. So Mark says, only with my family because I want a peaceful house. Susan says, feeling then doing, yes. Usually when I sit it and notice where that affects my body, etc. Susan, yes. I'm addicted to living in a state of busy. Margaret, that's some good stuff right there. Conversely, I also crave and want to be left alone. It's like busy, but then no one talk to me. So those are great comments. Thank you guys so much. And thanks, Gail, for texting those to me. I so appreciate that. So figure out how this emotional state is serving you. And then when they become a part of your personality, they're only a part of your personality until you don't want them to be a part anymore. You know, there's a study called epigenetics, and it's all about how you have an ability to change your DNA. Your DNA does not necessarily determine what's going to happen to you. So in my family, there's a history of anxiety and depression. The anxiety is huge in my family. I've suffered from anxiety, and at times I still have it. I just have a ton of coping skills that I use, and so it doesn't affect me. I don't have to enter into that emotional state and feel this fear often. And then when I do feel it, I can move through it. So that's kind of the beauty of this. So I'm not saying that I'm an anxious person. I become anxious, but what I've done is I've learned not to have to live in a constant anxious state, because it didn't help me. It wasn't serving me. It wasn't making my life better, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I had to figure out where the anxious state was coming from and reprogram my brain. I had to say, what is really happening here? Is there anything for me to fear? No, there's not anything for me to fear. What am I replacing this moment? How am I going to then be able to say to myself, breathe, there's nothing happening, and then develop a new state of being, right? So I can be anxious, but I don't have to let it ruin a moment or a time in my life or anything like that, right? So those are the things I'm talking about. And it's imperative to realize that behind every addiction, there are some memorized emotions that's driving the behavior. It's not you. They're memorized emotions that's driving behavior. The behavior doesn't always equal you. So can you guys really hear that? Just because you do something, that doesn't make you who you are, or it doesn't make you you. Now, if you want to change this around and you want to have a positive notion of like, okay, well, when I speak my authentic truth respectfully to myself and other people, I'm guilt-free. So I do more of that, because when I'm guilt-free, it makes me a better person for other people. It makes me a better integrative life empowerment coach. It makes me a better therapist. It makes me a better partner. It makes me a better mother. So I do more of those things. So what do you do? What do you do if you look at an environmental state, then you identify what emotional state that you get to be feeling, that you get to keep having this pattern about, and then what do you do about that? How do you rewire? You want to break apart this memorized behavior and start a new one. Make new neurological connections. That is absolutely possible. People do it all the time. It's scientifically proven, right? So, decide if you want to do anything about it. If you don't want to, if you don't have the energy, then at least own that. You know, this is really causing a problem in my life. I'm going to tackle this other thing first, or I don't feel like I have the energy. Or maybe you need help. Maybe you need a soul support. A lot of the women that I work with love having just the soul supporter that's there for them. That's what I do every single day, and it's what I love doing. Right? So decide if you want to do anything about it. If you don't, be honest with yourself about that. You don't have to feel bad. Just because you're honest with yourself doesn't mean you have to feel good or bad. It's just what is. Okay? Because in the judging yourself for not wanting to fix it, or not being like these other women, or not doing this other thing like this other mom, or not being a part of the school board and the PTA and everything else that everyone else is doing, like, don't feel bad. This comparison is also an addiction. It serves the nature of us not feeling good enough, not worthy, not deserving. And that's not true. So, decide if you want to do anything about it. Number one, ask yourself what you get out of staying in this emotional state. What do you get out of it? I met with someone today, and they're like, well, yeah, I don't want to. Nah, I don't want to. And I was like, well, then you can't blame other people for what you don't want to do. I mean, it's up to you. So figure out what you get. If you like sitting in this space, don't say I don't like sitting in this space. Say, I'm just going to stay in this space for right now. So again, it's the empowerment of owning something. Decide if you want to do it. Ask yourself what you get out of staying in this emotional state. Is it serving you? Is it making your life better? Great. Do I want to do something about that? Yes or no? Is it making my life not great? Is it making me have more suffering? Do I want to stop it, or do I not want to stop it? You decide. Then you say, how do I want to be feeling instead? Am I willing to do what's necessary to close the gap? So you're facing the reality. This is really how it is. Do I want to do anything about this? If I do, how do I want to be feeling? And then you start rewiring. So just like my example about anxiety, right? When I'm feeling fearful, it doesn't need to take over my emotions. I have rewired my brain. I have disconnected neurological pathways and reconnected them with asking myself and doing certain things, so it doesn't take over my life. Right now, there's a lot of fear. Do I have fear? Do I have some fear? Yes, I do. Is it going to change anything I do from this day on, as far as like the way I want to impact people, spreading positivity, empowering women to do what they want to be doing in their life? No, it won't. And honestly, like if someone starts threatening me, I just be like, well, no one gets to tell me what to do, so this is what's going to happen. So I kind of like have that attitude. And believe me, there's lots of things to be fearful about. But it doesn't have to carry over into something that controls your life. I spoke to somebody today, and I said, so what's your fear keeping you from doing? And the person said, I don't think it's really my fear that's keeping me from doing it. doing something. My fear is keeping me from realizing the way I want to be living. That's really insightful. So it's not that the fear is keeping them from doing what they want to be doing, but because of fear, they can't realize what they truly want in their life. And they have this life to be living, right? So when I talk about anxiety, the other thing too is that you don't rewire neurological connections overnight. It takes practice. One of the ways that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about doing that is through meditation. Now you can do meditation, but it takes this practice of saying, this is not what's serving me. This is not the way I want to be living. This is the way I want to be living. So when I feel fearful, I'm going to say to myself, what actually do I fear? If I don't feel worthy, it's just because I've lived this life of feeling that I wasn't deserving as other people, or that other people were more important than me. And that's not true. You know, you get to look at that and practice and say, I'm feeling unworthy. But what is the reality? The reality is that I am worthy. And if I do this for myself, I can be a better mom, a better woman, a better person, a better colleague, a better therapist, a better integrative life empowerment coach. Like those are the reason I do things, because it gives me an ability to serve other people. So I want to wrap this up. I don't want to go too much longer. So just quick recap. You're going to look and say, what interactions am I having in my environment? And if you see patterns, or if you see things that aren't serving you, that aren't making your life better, you say, what emotional state is causing this interaction in my environment? Or what in my environment is triggering an emotional state within me that I'm addicted to, that I'm used to? I don't know how else to describe it. Oftentimes we have so much more suffering because it's easier to suffer than it is easier to live with ease. We just get used to striving and driving and making ourselves better and making everyone think that we're better and all those things. But underneath it all, we really just feel like we're not good enough. But it's easier to suffer. It's easier to serve others than it is to serve myself in a healthy way. I'm not talking about a selfish way. I'm talking about in a healthy way. When you realize the emotional state, you get to say, what in my past has trained me to be comfortable in this emotional state? It doesn't make you who you are. An emotional state is an emotional state. An addictive emotional state causes a behavior. Then you don't like doing this behavior. So you have to see the relationship. You're going to realize where you're going to start. You're going to sit. And I'm going to encourage you to withhold all judgment and just say, where am I at right now? Be gracious and compassionate towards yourself. Life is hard. We don't need more hard. We don't need more demeaning words that we say to ourselves. We don't need that. What we need is to say to ourselves, this is what's happening. What do I want to do about it? Empower yourself back in. Decide if you want to do anything about it. Ask yourself what is serving you by staying in this emotional state. What do you get out of it? All right? Then you say, how do I want to be feeling? Instead of being fearful all the time and having fear or anxiety always have my blood pressure up and always make me wonder and make me hypervigilant, I don't want to be that way all the time. I want to know that no matter what is happening, I'm going to be able to handle that, right? So that's like an example. So you're going to face the reality of where you're at. You're going to ask what you want to do about it. How do you want to be feeling? And if you're willing to do what's necessary. Oftentimes it's not so easy. Sometimes it can be easy. There are some easier times and there's some harder times. But this kind of self-growth stuff isn't just going to like roll off the tongue and just become an automatic habit after 25 years of suffering. Like that's not how it works. You're deprogramming it, right? And then you're going to practice. When you find yourself, like my example of this woman that is with her family, things seem to be going well, she wants to sabotage it and be angry because she's not clear what's happening, because this is always how her family relates, and she doesn't know what's happening over here, so she becomes uncomfortable. She needs to decide at that moment, stop, take a breath. How do I want to be? How do I want to interact in this moment? It takes work, but it pays off. I'm telling you, it's paid off for me over and over and over again. And that's why I always say, you know, speaking my authentic truth with respect to myself and other people, then I walk away knowing that I don't have to have guilt. I don't have to have shame. I don't have to have judgment, right? Those things don't occur to me. So it's really freeing. So there's a couple of sayings I want to say at the end, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you go because we've been on here for almost a half hour. And I get passionate about this stuff, so sorry it's been a little bit longer. So think about this concept. This is a quote today by Danielle Laporte. And it says, move towards pleasure rather than away from pain. So think about it for a minute. Write it down. Move towards pleasure rather than away from pain. That's powerful, right? I'm not going to do all these things that avoid me having fear. But what I can do is move towards these times when I'm experiencing having fear and not feeling any pain from it. Does that make sense? Move towards pleasure rather than away from pain. Don't run. You don't need to run. Sit down for a moment. Acknowledge your worth, acknowledge your beauty, acknowledge your human, just awesome existence. Find the pleasure in that, because you don't have to run from pain. Because you're just there. You know within yourself, right? Okay, so then this is the other thing. Reconnecting, rewiring neurological connections, right? That's what this is all about. Practice, practice, practice. So this is one from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and then I'm going to end. Our intention creates our reality. So I want to ask you, what is your intention? Your intention creates reality. Oh, it's always my fault. Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, that's my fault. That's my fault. When it's not even your fault. But your intention of taking the blame creates your reality of being blamed, and feeling unworthy and feeling suffering and not good enough. Don't do that. My intention is to find out what I'm responsible for and what I'm not responsible for, and then take appropriate action. Right? So our intention creates our reality. So what I'd like for you to comment on, even though I can't see it, I want you to comment on, and I hope that you will all comment tonight to support each other, to say, what is your intention for tomorrow? What is your intention? Because that intention, what you focus on, what you think about, you bring about. Think about that. Your intention is your reality. What intention do you want to have tomorrow? And when you talk about an intention of caring for self, that doesn't always mean you have to buy yourself. That doesn't mean any of that. But maybe it's just really knowing how you want to be interacting. Maybe your intention is to make sure you say thank you. Maybe your intention is to find gratitude, right? Maybe your intention is to say, hold on a moment. The intention of not being so busy. The intention of not operating at extremes. I'm going to be fluid. My intention is to know myself better than I know anybody else. So at any moment, I know how I want to live authentically in this world, with fierce confidence, laser clarity, and passionate purpose. That's what I'm all about. And I hope that all of you have had these moments on this video tonight that encourage you to break free from your emotional addictions, to those feelings that we've been trained to do, because the emotional addictions cause us to have behaviors. You get to decide every single day, every single moment. And all of you will decide whatever is right for you. That's the beauty of the freedom, right? So I love you all. I love you all for being on here. Thank you so much for your support. I'm very sorry I can't see the comments when I hang up or get off of here. Hang up. Yeah, okay. When I get off of here, I'll go ahead and reply to some of your comments. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating. And I want you all to go out there and make your intention your reality. Create your reality. Oh, I can't forget this. I'm going to offer another Vision Roadmap workshop. I've had some requests for Vision Roadmap workshop. Some people weren't able to make it the last time. It's a very small group of women that can fit into this room that I have. So I'm offering another Vision Roadmap workshop. It's going to be on, I believe it's February 16th. Look for the email that's going to go out. It's going to be in the evening. I think that's a Thursday evening, and it's going to be from 6 to 9 or about 9:30 around there. So look for the email that's going to be coming out, and then look for the email. I wasn't sure I was going to do this, but I'm starting a group program. That's going to be coming out. Again, a limited number of women, because I like to keep it small, I like to keep it relational, and I like to keep it intimate. So look for the emails about the group program that's going to be starting in February. I'm so excited about it. And I've had a lot of women ask me for a group program. So that's what's going to be starting. So look for that. Vision Roadmap Workshop, again, February 16th. And that'll be the next one. And there's 8 spaces, only 8 spaces. So look for the email, register right away if you want to. All the supplies are there. I'll have some snacks. We'll have a really good time. And in the email, you'll see what some of the other ladies from the last and the very first Vision Roadmap Workshop said about it. It was fun. It was awesome. So I hope to see you all next Tuesday on True Serum Tuesday. And I love you all. Thanks again for your support. Bye.